to Smash Writing. This is Renfield, and today we are talking about a movie called Three Generations. I looked this up, trying to find some movies to talk about for LGBTQ month, and I didn't know which one to look for when it came down to trans people. So I kind of just grabbed one out of the list, and it wasn't until after I watched it that this movie has a little bit of controversy around it. We will get into that. I'll get into a little bit of that at the end. With all that said, let's dive in, shall we? The movie kicks us off with a bit of narration from the main character, Ray, talking about every year he makes the same wish. He wishes to be a boy. He is raised in New York by his mom, his grandma, and his grandma's girlfriend. And he just wants a little bit of normalcy in his life to feel normal. We meet up with him and his family at a meeting talking about getting on testosterone in X amount of days, some amount of days. And what they're going to need, the parental form. Grandma kind of argues for alternative treatments and everything like that. But they get the parental form that needs to be signed. Well, we see a bit of how dinner is for this family, and when Ray goes off to play his piano and do a bit of music, Mom and Grandma get into an argument. And the girlfriend, Franny, she wants to stay out of this. Because Grandma's arguing that since he likes boys, he should just stay with being a girl and be a lesbian. While Mom is telling her to shut the hell up. And Franny, like I said, she doesn't want any part of this. Despite the fact she even points out that the grandma is misinterpreting her words because she is with the UN and argues over actual countries who are doing stuff like genital mutilation on women. But during this argument, Ray does come back in and has a great line when he says, "I'm not trying to be anything like you're trying to be gay." And that pisses Grandma off because Grandma does not want to marry her girlfriend. And it seems very gatekeepy, old school kind of way here. Like, it's okay for her to be in this relationship, but it's not okay to do the marriage and everything like that. Hard to say, though, because we don't really focus on that story at all. And that is a running theme for this movie. That night, we see Ray using, well, I'm not too sure if it's ace bandage or chest binder, but something to keep their chest compressed in. Hopefully it is a binder, because it is much safer than the ace bandage drop. Grandma is definitely not going to be over this argument anytime soon. And Mom is debating about signing the papers. And we find out that she doesn't yet. And one of the things is Ray's looking to do whenever all this starts is to go to public school. Wanting to be out of the fancy private school and feel like a normal kid. Normal boy. And, but at this time, we do see Ray at school. We meet their friends group, and we see his crush for a moment. I believe it was this point where we see his crush for the first time. And we see Mom is trying to track down the information for the dad, because they're going to need Dad's signature on this paper. As well as we also see Mom trying to avoid a guy named Jake. And we get a little bit of an argument with Ray and the mom because Ray skipped group. But Mom goes upstairs and she gets on the phone. She's once again trying to find the dad, Craig. And Ray hears a little bit of the argument and he's like, who died? Because Mom's talking like maybe she should just sign it herself and claimed he died or whatnot. But we also see her talking to her mother, and she might be having doubts about going through all of this. And to get a bit of clarity, I guess, she sleeps with Jake. Don't get too hooked on this. We will not be seen again. You get a little bit more with the mom and grandma. And grandma's pointing out, like, maybe you don't want to find Craig, because if you find Craig and he signs it, then you'll have to sign, and it becomes real now when Mom is arguing, but you can tell this is going to be a fucking problem. Meanwhile, Ray is doing exercises, talking about exciting, counting down the days to be on T. And we also see him ogling his crush a little bit and hanging out with the guys at the skate park. Now we get into another argument, this time with Ray and the mom, because Ray wants her to sign goddamn papers at this point. Just be done with it, sign it, and move on. And Mom is like, I just want to take it slow, blah, 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 blah. And Ray eventually storms off. When Ray's out, we see a brief moment that Ray is about to be attacked. And it jumps around a little bit until he finally comes home with a black eye. And he recorded all of this with his phone so the mom could see. Yeah, he got attacked by this guy who's screaming about whether or not he's a guy or a girl and attacked him to try to basically pull down his pants and find out for himself. And he loses his shoe when he kicks him in the face and runs off. This is a really heavy moment that we are going to spend zero time on because we gotta keep on moving. But also on this video, we see a little bit more about Ray, and it's Ray talking about how everyone in his life expects him to be a her, but all he wants to be is a boy. Now, at this point, the mom finally gets it together and goes to see Craig. He is married with a family, and he will not sign the papers. Despite the fact that he has not been involved in his life in over 10 years, he is not going to do it. He screams about how he's not informed on this and he needs time to think it over, blah, blah, blah. When she gets back home, she's talking to Grandma, and she's like, what if I sign it now when years later he decides this was all a mistake? And this is the time now Grandma decides to start telling her she needs to start looking for a new place on her own. And also talking to Ray about the signature and everything. And Ray tells Ray that Ray might need to start looking into just being emancipated. And it's a whole hell of a lot harder than that. And Ray does not want to go that route either because when he goes to the new school, he wants to be on T and he wants to have been starting to transition into being a boy. And a big part of why he wants to leave the school he's at is because he wants to start a new place as a boy and not a place that knew him before. And he's very excited to be leaving Grandma's house. Couldn't imagine why. Grandma is a bit of a nightmare. But on this note, Ray goes to Craig's house himself after buzzing his hair. We'll get to that later. And he is not going to be leaving Craig's house until Craig signs those damn papers. Even so much as having dinner with Ray and his family, which has 2 more kids. He has 3 kids to this new woman. Mom is coming after ditching Grandma and girlfriend at the gas station while Grandma was using the bathroom. Mom shows up, and Mom and Craig get into it. And this is where we learn that their Uncle Matt is in fact Ray's biological dad. And that's why he left and doesn't try to be in his son's life. Ray breaks down at this moment, as one would, because he believes he is officially screwed. Craig's not signing the papers. Mom probably ruined his chances here at getting this damn signature. And he's breaking down. They pick up Grandma and his girlfriend and drive off back to the house. And it's like, someone at one point made a comment about, well, Ray has 2 dads, but no, he doesn't have 2 dads. There's 1 mom. The 2 dads haven't even been in the picture at all. What is going on in this movie? Grandma, though, finally has his epiphany, finally comes to her senses, and meets up with Ray when Ray's getting up the subway and welcomes him as the new man to the family. And it is a rather touching moment that we'll get into later. Meanwhile, Matt shows up, and Craig shows up, and both of them want to be involved in Ray's life. The papers are signed. Craig is officially starting his tea, and he has a great moment with his mom in the taxi cab to this Chinese restaurant, and everyone's waiting. Craig and Matt and all of the kids, and you get to see them as one big family as this movie comes to an end. My thoughts on this movie. Normally I do pros and then cons, but all of my pros in this movie come with a big fat but. All of them. So let's just run it through. Let's talk about this movie. Before I do, though, I do have to, get one thing straight here. I don't know too much about the troubles trans face. Personally, anyways. I've listened to trans people talk about their story on YouTube and read blogs and everything, and I know how hard this whole thing is. But I don't know, just what has been said. And in my life, I've only knowingly met one trans person. They were a former coworker of mine. And he was awesome. He was a trans man, just much like the character in the story here. They rocked a bow tie better than anyone I've ever seen in my life. But I only knew them for a week or two. They were my smoking buddy. I know that their mom really didn't appreciate them being trans, and they left shortly after they started. They worked in a different department than I was. I was in stocking. They worked somewhere else. And I was really sad to see them go. They were really fucking cool. Hope they're doing good. Hope they were able to transition and are doing amazing. But as I talk about what I think about Ray and what the transitioning thing is, no, I can only somewhat know what's going on here because I think so. My experience is only so much. Alright, let's do this here. Let's start this off with the cast. I think that the cast all did really good for the most part. I was able to really get sucked into Ray's life, and I really wanted Ray to get everything he wanted. I wanted him to get the damn signature. I wanted him to start on his tee and be happy. But we didn't get nearly enough here that we should have gotten, and we got way too much of what we didn't need. And for the most part, it was surrounded around the mother. Because for some reason, the mother in this movie is way more of a main character than Ray. And that is a problem. Because Ray needed more time, Grandma needed more time. The mother did not need this weird-ass baby daddy drama. We just didn't need it. We spent most of this movie thinking Craig was the dad who didn't want to be involved, and then we learned no, it was actually Uncle Matt here, and now both of them want to be involved, and that's great, but we didn't need it at all. And there was a much simpler solution to be had, which I'll tell you in a little bit. And speaking of the mom too, like, how much leeway do you want to give her here? Because she is constantly misgendering Ray all throughout this movie. And she also had a line here, though, that said him and her had constant years of therapy about this. She should be much further along than this and not be misgendering him as much as she is. It is a problem. But on the other hand, you can make the argument that this close to the finish line, not quite the finish line, they're only starting hormone replacement therapy here. They're not even doing surgery. So, on the stepping stones, from what I can tell, they should have already faced all of this in therapy, or not be misgendering as much here. I didn't mind the father bullshit, but we don't see enough of Craig here to appreciate his shift. And you know what shift we didn't get any time to appreciate is grandmother's shift. It's like we only had 2 scenes that were really just Grandma and Ray. That was them arguing, and then Grandma welcoming him as her grandson. There needed to be more in there to really make that scene feel more valued and bigger than what it was. Because there's no reason for her especially to change. Because she wasn't there at the house and seeing Ray break down. I think that scene, the breakdown scene, should have been handled better. And the way to do that was just make the mom already on board with her son transitioning and fighting with Craig to just sign the goddamn papers. Remember, Grandma's there. She's trying to chirp in because she's always chirping in, but through all of this, just have Ray break down. And this is where I'd also put this line. Ray had a great line in this. It was, stop making your problems mine. Something like it. It was like, stop making your problems mine, or stop making your problems my problems. same thing, but it's quote, so you put that line here for all three of these people to hear because it's the fucking truth. Because you've got grandmas and antiquated ways, you have mom still refusing, and yeah, it's hard for her too, but and whatever the fuck is going on with Craig. But at the end of the day, none of these fucking matter. Because what matters and what should matter is Ray. Sign the papers. Deal with your own problems in therapy and let Ray live his life. And this movie skirts around Ray so much. And we only get little glimpses of how hard it could be for him. And you know, his crush calls him a girl, which would be heartbreaking. And he gets attacked, and we don't even focus on that scene. And that scene should be haunting. We gloss over it, though. There was another scene in this movie. I can't remember. There was a third one, though. Like, having that line be at the climax of the movie, when all three of these people need to hear it the most, should have been the most powerful line in this movie. But it came, like, so close to the beginning of this movie, and it didn't settle anything, and it just made things worse, especially with the mom, because she was the only one who heard it. It just felt like there was so much about this movie that could have been done better. And because of all of that, oh no, I can't go into final grade yet. I gotta talk about the cast. Ellie Fanning. I believe that was her name. Don't you dare fall over, Redfield. Yeah, it was Ellie Fanning played the role of Ray. They really should have got a trans character to play this role of Ray. It was 2013, I guess, 2014 when you started shooting, roughly. You could have found a trans man in Hollywood at this point to play the character of Ray. And they said they wanted a female-looking trans character since they were starting the transitioning role. I'm sure you could have found that. I'm positive you could have found that. And they would have brought so much emotional and so much intensity from their own story. And they could have added so much shit from their own history to really make Ray a fleshed out character. And the part that does it for me is the fact that they did not shave her head. Because Ray gets a haircut in this movie that sends mom over the edge. But, I mean, honestly, she treats it like it was a fucking buzz cut. But I probably have less hair on my head right now than Ray did in this movie. And it was supposed to be this big, powerful scene. But all I felt was like it was a compromise between actress and studio to not shave her head. But if you're not going to shave your head for this role, you shouldn't have had this role. And with all of this said, I'm going to give this movie a C-. It is good. It has some really great moments. But at times it just feels like this is a training wheel to not to kind of show you problems trans kids face, but it focused way too hard on the mom and not enough on the characters that mattered here. Especially didn't focus on Ray enough in this movie. So C- is where it's going. As always, have a good day, evening, night, afternoon, whatever, wherever you are. And as always, bye-bye.